Hey guys, we're carrying on our not speed run. We're rated 967, so we're staring at the 1000 breakthrough barrier. So hopefully if you're one of the very many people who are trying to get through 1000, then this will be helpful. Okay, opponent here is from Australia, rated 1016. We're going to play a d4 opening, so I'm going back to not my normal stuff. Okay. They played the Horvitz defense with e6. Now, if I play the move e4, we've transposed into a French. Now, here I would play c4. But let's do an advanced variation. In fact, shall we do an advanced variation? Let's take this by principles, right? If I move my pawn twice, then it annoys the knight. It stops the knight from coming out to f6. But what I'm not doing is I'm not developing. I could develop my knight to c3 to defend the pawn, but then he can come out with his bishop and pin the knight, which might be a bit annoying. I've got bishop d3, which is a bit on the clunky side. I'm going to move the pawn a second time. Right? I know that it, in a way, now turns the tables and makes black white, because it's now black with the initiative. You know, we have now a quiet position, and it's, you know, I'm waiting to see what black does now. Okay, so it looks as though he's thinking about fianchettoing this bishop, or is he thinking about playing c5 in order to support that? But if he plays c5, I can play c3. If he takes, I take. That seems absolutely fine. Let's develop. Let's get stuff out into the board. There he goes, look. So always ask yourself, why did my opponent make that move? What is my opponent's idea? What's your idea then? What's your plan? He's created a lot of space here. Look at this space behind his pawns. Now, that can be useful. I mean, similarly, I have this space behind my pawns, right? It can be useful, but it can also work against you if your opponent can penetrate into that space. Now, I'm thinking I want to move my light squared bishop so that my king can castle. I am not going to be putting my king on c1 anytime soon. What's the point in that? Right? So, does my bishop want to go to e2? That's viable. d3 might prompt c4, which c4 is not actually a great move often in the French, but or do I do this and pin the knight? Now, if I pin the knight, he gets to activate his bishop. Now, his bishop is his worst piece. That is very well known in the French defense, because he's built a light squared pawn structure, and his bishop's stuck behind it. That's the issue. So I don't. And this is the question you have to ask, right? If I do this and he does that, right? So yes, this is a pin, right? Woohoo! It's a pin. Well done, right? And then it isn't a pin anymore. And then what he's threatening to do is at some point move his knight, and then what we're going to do? We're going to trade bishops. You know, my light squared bishop, excuse me, is kind of active, right? It has options on the king side of the board. His light squared bishop is rubbish. In the French defense, black loves nothing more than to trade off his light squared bishop, because it's his worst piece. These can all do good things. Right? This knight might come to e7, g6, something like that. This bishop can come out. He wants the short castle, and then try and use this kind of space advantage he's got on the queen side. Okay. So here I can recapture with a pawn. I can recapture with a knight. Don't want to recapture with a queen, because knight takes queen. So let's recapture with a pawn. It's still perfectly well defended. And I would argue that black's really gained very little from that little exchange. I'm now ready to castle, look, and black is not by any means ready to castle. Okay, interesting. f6. Now this is the other classic pawn break other than c5 in the French defense. If he takes, I can't take back with the knight, because, well, I can actually. I can. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my king safe. If he wants to trade off in the middle, he takes, I take. He's got pawns here. My pawn is there. He's got then 3 pawn islands. That's so highlighted in red would be In fact, this would be... No, that would be my pawn, wouldn't it? Okay, so he's developed a bishop. And it's, look, it's attacking a load of fresh air here. I could just kick the bishop. And if he goes back to a5, he's lost, right? So, because he's trapped by his own pawn on b6. So I kick him. He can't stay there. He can't take. He can't go here. He can't go here. He's got to go all the way back there. So what I've done with this move is it's not cost me a turn because he now has to move his bishop a second time. Retreat all the way to e7 where he could have put it in the first place like I did. Yeah? And this is the thing about tempo. Right, now what's changed? Right? Go back 2 moves. Right, it's black to move. Black has the initiative. Okay? He can put his bishop here or his knight here at any time. You know, that's a good square for his knight. Now, what he's done, look, see what he's actually achieved. I'm going to attack some fresh air on your side of the board. Well, I'm going to hit a3, and now you retreat. Now, what's changed? He's effectively used his move to develop his bishop to e7, which is arguably where it should have gone in the first place, right? But which he could have done here, by the way, right? The difference is now he's done this move, but allowing me this. What's changed? Well, now his bishop can't go to b4, and neither can his knight. So you see, this prompts your opponent to do something improving, and then you have to retreat because it comes with a tempo move. Yeah? And now his knight can't come to this square, nor can his bishop at any point, because of the pawn. And it's white to move. It's the same as it would have been if he'd just done that, but we would be on move 9 rather than move 10. Does that make sense? Okay, I still have this idea that he will still just block with the bishop. I would rather leave that bishop on the back rank, because it can't go here because I'll take it. And it can go here, but, you know, it would cost him a move. Why do that? Okay, so what I'm doing now is I've got my king safe, which is good for me. Shui. Okay? I'd like to develop my other bits. My dark squared bishop has few prospects actually on this diagonal right now. I could just stick it on here, right? Because these squares, I don't know. Yeah, they're all right. Does my opponent want to stick any of his stuff on those squares? I don't know. I could push b4, but it feels a bit wishy-washy. I'm going to be wanting to think about launching some attack down here. Now, I don't want to take here. He can take many ways back. I feel like that's a very kind of beginnery move. Just kind of removes all the tension. So, thinking about these pieces again. Knight. Come here. I'd like my knight to come here, actually. Could work. That's quite a common idea. But I'm thinking, because he's moved his f-pawn already, stuff's going to happen. You know, shit's going to go down here at some point. So I think I'd like to keep my rook here. So I'm somewhat in 2 minds. I think bishop d2 is not a bad idea. The problem is it prevents my knight from going to there. Does my knight want to go there? Where does my knight want to go? I don't know. Other ideas, h3, drop this knight in here, and then this knight comes and replaces it on f3. This is also idea. Could my knight go there? Well, what if he pushes this? I just move back. And then I might have this square. So knight bd2 feels kind of flexible, as though any of these other things is still possible. And I haven't got anywhere I really want to put that bishop right now, so blocking in this bishop is no skin off my nose. Right? It's no problem at all. It's like bishops are happy just waiting. You know, they're men of the cloth. They will sit there and just contemplate, and then they just dive in later on. You don't have to be in such a mad rush to develop your bishops all the time. Knights are a completely different creature. Knights are rubbish on the back rank. Very decent indeed when they come to their natural squares of here. You know, not brilliant on if they go here, but you know, they can do. And they get really strong when they get to the center or they start to get into like here, right? Really powerful and can become absolutely deadly as an attacking force, you know, if they get onto like the 7th rank. So knights really do change in value as they move up the board. Bishops can sit there for the entire game, do absolutely nothing, and then deliver checkmate. That's the difference. Okay, we have h6. I'm immediately not liking that from black's perspective. The reason is he's not any closer to castling. He's had 10 moves. He's not used any of them to finish developing his king. So he's not going to put his king there, right? So I'm not sure of the purpose of this. Like, are you stopping that? Well, f6 pawn was already stopping that. So I'm kind of inclined to just shuffle around a little bit here. I do want to open up this bishop now because that could be a hook later on. So I think I'm going to push h3. Just kind of shuffle my knights around, maybe. A knight there wouldn't be a bad thing. How can I do that? How can I get there? From here? Not... okay. What's that about then? So we can't come here because of my queen. If he goes here, I've got double eyes on that, so I take out his central pawn. So it's b4 again? b4. b4, and it's like be gone horse. Shoo. Shoo. Okay. Very interesting. Now this loses a pawn. I can take with either of my minor pieces. He must recapture, and then I take with my other minor piece. Now the question is then, right, do I want a knight on this square or a bishop on this square? Because I'm having that pawn. I'm going to have that pawn. It's a central pawn. These are your $1 pawns, right? These guys here, these are your, let's put on the starting squares, these are your 90 cents, right? These guys are worth about 80 cents, and these guys are worth like 70, right? Again, pawns, not all pawns are born equal. Do I want a knight on here or a bishop? Remember, this pawn is gone. So if I have a bishop there, it's looking at here. Now, if his king goes there, and I have a bishop on this square, then my bishop will be lined up with his king. And notice his light squared bishop will be the only defender of that pawn on e6. Conversely, if I have a knight here, you can't really do... Right, I'm going to take with a knight, I'm going to keep the bishop. My bishop might even drop back something like here, but, you know, this is the point. Bishops are like Manchurian candidates, if you know that thing, where you kind of... It's like a sleeping agent that you trigger with a psychological trigger, and then they kind of... Have you seen Zoolander? That's the kind of idea, right? Bishops can sit there for... So he might come back. I mean, there's no reason to move him right now. Okay. The purpose of this move... Can I do that? No, then he's got 1, 2, 3 attackers, and I've got 1, 2 defenders. That does not work. But I'm not impressed with the way that my opponent has failed to complete development. Now, he might be thinking about trading off here. I don't mind that. I mean, thing is, right, in the French defense, at the start of the game, this bishop is a bad bishop. I would argue it is no longer a bad bishop. I think it's become a good bishop. I think it's become powerful. And I've allowed that to happen by opening up the board. On the flip side, though, the reason why I've opened up the board is his king's still in the middle. He's not castled, because he couldn't be asked. However, it must be said. Remember what we said earlier on, the bishop's the only defender of that? Because well, it is. I can just win another pawn here, can't I? Win another pawn, threaten even to take his knight, and then after rook recaptures, there's no castling whatsoever. I'm not worried about bishop takes knight, because queen takes, and my queen dives into the game. fists flailing. Now he could do this. Takes, takes. Notice my queen's the only defender of d4. But, I mean, I could even take with g. I could even take with g. Okay, he's gone for that idea. Now then. So I kind of overlooked what he was doing there. If I could take with the g-pawn, and that defends this. Right, and I'm 2 pawns up again. If I take with the queen and queen comes here, look. So this is what you have to do, guys, if you want to be like plus 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, 1,600. It's like, if I do this, because, right, I could go, well, if I do this, it drops this pawn, okay? Thinking stops. Don't do that, right? If I do this, I defend the pawn. That's better, right? No. Let's take it a step further. I do this, it drops this pawn. But then the queen no longer defends the rook, so happy days. And look at my king. Snug as a bug and rug. And you can't take the pawn. You can't take it. Right? Uh-oh. Now you have to block with the queen or the bishop. If you block with the bishop, I have rook d1. Oh no, because then you take my queen in it. Okay. Now it's project finish him off. I have a free pawn. Oop-de-doo. The simplest thing is to trade off queens. It really is. Or just sit there and wait for my opponent to figure out that he can't do anything. Okay. Good game. Good game. I am going to pull it into the analysis board because I think there will be useful things from there. But let's just, before that, let's just go over it one more time. Why did black lose? Okay, so this Horvitz is kind of unusual. Okay, we enter into a French. I play the French advanced variation. At higher levels, the French exchange variation gets loads of draws. It's like if you're black and you have to get a draw, you know, that. But it's white's choice whether to go for the French exchange. Or if you're white and a draw is enough in your match or whatever. This, I don't know if that's normal, but it's a third pawn move. What he hasn't done is he hasn't developed his pieces. And I think that's the theme here, right? Pawn move number 4, right? 4 moves, 4 pawns. Okay, I've moved 3 pawns. Okay, now we're kind of equal. I put my bishop there because it didn't have anywhere better and I want a castle. Okay, another pawn move. Maybe a bit premature for the f5, f6 pawn break in the French, considering everything, nearly everything is still in the box, right? He's only developed 1 piece and he's opening up the position. Right? First rule of Fight Club, get your king safe. Right? That means developing some pieces, or you know, get the bishop out, whatever it is, develop pieces, whatever you have to do, get castled, and then pawn breaks. Right? So he's opening up the board. So too much pawn action too early. And that's just silly. Okay? But it's a minor crime. He's just lost a turn. That's all that's happened. And another pawn move. Right? I play this now for a reason. Because I want to pivot my knights around. Right? I'm just trying to improve my pieces. Because I got my king safe. My king is safe. I can crack on with middle game ideas. Improve, improve, improve. What's this about? Stupid idea. Loses a pawn. Okay? And that's just tactical. That's just miscounting. And this. Giving up a pawn, right? If I move that bishop, what changes on the board? Oh, I undefend e6. Is e6 attacked? Oh, yes. Maybe I better not do that. Maybe I better come up with another idea. Right? That's what he failed to do. And then this whole tactic, you know, just ends the game. So what did he not do? Well, you know, he saw this, right? He saw the queen, and you know, to his credit, The queen defends the knight. G2 also defends the knight. The queen is the only defender of d4. Right? And he went, well, if I take that, that pawn is mine. Yeah, well done. But then what happens? Sorry, a little bit Ricky Gervais. Didn't mean to. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just drops the rook. And that just simply ends the game. So let us do our usual thing. I'm going to grab me a PGM. And we're going to go over to an analysis board. Here we go, paste in the PGN, and as usual, I'm doing it anonymously. Okay, so here we go. Oh no, let's go review, sorry. I'm looking for 1600 plus. That's where I should be, because I'm 1609 rapid. 82, pretty happy. One miss, one mistake. Okay, this is great because it means we've got stuff to learn from, and it's given me 1850, so I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, let's go. Book, bookity, book. The French advance, obviously it's book. And b6, okay. More bookity, book, c5 and c3. Okay, so far everyone's happy. Knight c6 is good because he's developing a piece. Wasn't the best move. No, but look, again, 0.16 of a pawn difference, ignore. Ignore the fish. Okay, bishop e2 is excellent move. I'm happy with that. It's one of those kind of quiet moves, but it's not a bad move. I'm not losing ground, right? I'm just improving. I'm now ready to castle. And my bishop, should this knight ever move, my bishop has scope. Look, it's looking at plenty of squares. It's looking at squares in my opponent's half of the board, right? It's better on that square than it was there. So I'm just like, just edging forward my advantage. This is inaccurate. Okay, he should have played a developing move. Fianchetto the bishop. Okay, he didn't. He does this, I recapture. And now what? And now f6. You see, I said this f6 move was too soon. It is a move in the French, but normally you want to get your blooming king safe first. Normally. I mean, sometimes I've had plenty of French games where I never even castled the king, but... Okay, OO is good. Best move here. Develop your other knight, hunty. But, you know. Again, it's 0.2 of a pawn. Ignore. And that's a mistake. Because it allows this... This is not what we played. We played this inaccuracy, but, you know, there... And I didn't feel the need to put in this pin at any point because I thought I'm just going to invite his bishop out, so. Okay, there was a better way. Better way was knight c3. Okay, I guess I didn't really see the future of the knight there, but you know, it does have scope. It does have scope. That's a miss. Should have played knight h6, right? Again, remember what I said, this bishop could have, just at any point, could have just dived in maybe. Obviously not this point, but any, many points. Could have dived in, eradicated that knight, messed up his thing, left his king stranded. That's why you want to get your king castled. This is a miss. Again, it wants me to play my bishop out here and pin the knight. But hey. Didn't like h3. Okay. Now his knight moves, now he's in the losing position. Kick him away, and this is just a miscalculation, right? Put my knight here, attack twice, defended once, you can lose a pawn. Bang. And interestingly, knight takes is best here. If I go back one move, knight takes c4 is the best move, according to the fish. Knight h4 is the second best move. And then bishop d3, the third best move, right? Bishop takes was not in the running. Bishop takes was a mistake by the look of things. Isn't that interesting? But knight takes is great, bishop takes best, and now I'm +5. Okay, grab the free pawn. It likes knight h4, you know, idea of coming in here. Forces rook to move. That's goodbye short castles. And that's okay. And that's best. Ha! It's +7 here, and apparently that's an excellent move because it goes from +7 to +11.8, so go figure. And, ooh, there's an in-between move actually hitting the... What? I mean, I like the idea of it. This is something I'm working on. Oh, it's because his queen's looking at my rook. But that doesn't matter because I do this with check. And maybe bishop comes back. Okay. There. Queen d8 is best. And now it's saying just drop the queen all the way back. But we're winning, winning, winning. Okay. So what didn't he do? He never got his king safe. He never developed this knight, this rook. You know, they never took part in the game. This is the problem. Yes, there were a couple of tactical issues, but you expect that. Right? But those I would say those tactical issues were compounded, or the negative impact of those mistakes was compounded by the fact that he neglected his own development. So that is my assessment, and I'll stick with it. But yeah, happy to get the, what was that, an 1850 off it? Yeah, I'll take that all day long. All right. Hope that was useful. Okay, for everyone looking around that 1,000 rating point mark, trying to break through there. It's not too difficult. Just start thinking ahead. Practice thinking ahead. If I take with this, if I take with that, right? Small improvements in the middle game. It's all good. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.